What if I told you the greatest gift humanity ever received was never given, but stolen? A flame taken from the halls of Olympus, carried in secret, delivered to trembling mortals below. A spark that lit the path of civilization and condemned its bearer to endless torment. This is the story of Prometheus, the titan who defied the gods. Prometheus, whose very name means forethinker, was unlike his kin. When the Titans raged against the Olympians in the great war known as the Titanomachy, he did not fight beside them. He foresaw their fall, their arrogance, and their doom. Instead, he sided with Zeus, gifting him knowledge of strategy, teaching him how to claim victory. It was Prometheus who whispered of ambushes, of weaknesses, of the very way the Titans might be overthrown. And so, when Olympus rose in triumph, the gods owed much of their victory to him. For a brief time, Prometheus was celebrated, a titan who had secured a place among the new rulers of heaven. But as the revelry of victory faded, a darker truth emerged. Zeus, drunk on power, cared nothing for the fragile mortals below. From his golden throne, he decreed that mankind should remain weak, crawling, voiceless, in endless shadow. To him, they were unworthy of fire, unworthy of knowledge, unworthy of hope. And though the Olympians feasted, laughing in palaces of gold, Prometheus turned his gaze downward. He saw the humans starving, freezing, terrified of beasts that roamed the night. They prayed to Olympus, but no answer came. To the gods, they were toys. But to Prometheus, they were children waiting to be guided, seeds waiting to be awakened. And in that moment, the Titan who had once betrayed his own kind to aid Zeus felt a new betrayal forming, one that would shake Olympus itself. Imagine, for a moment, a world without fire. The cold was unending, nights stretched forever. Men and women huddled together in caves, their breath fogging in the frigid air. Predators ruled the darkness, wolves with glowing eyes, lions prowling the shadows. To step outside was to risk death, yet to remain inside was to slowly starve. They gnawed raw meat, their stomachs aching, their children crying from hunger. Every storm brought terror. Every howl of the beasts outside was a reminder of their fragility. Above them, Olympus glittered with eternal feasts. Goblets of wine overflowed, laughter echoed, torches blazed with eternal light. The gods lived in comfort while their creations suffered. But Prometheus could not harden his heart. Each night, he descended in thought to those caves. He watched humanity's trembling hands, the pleading eyes of a mother who could not warm her child, the hopeless prayers whispered into the void. He asked himself, why create them only to let them suffer? Why give them life only to deny them the means to survive? It was then that Prometheus understood the cruel design of Zeus. To keep mankind weak was to keep them dependent forever on their knees, worshipping the gods who denied them. But Prometheus saw more. In the human spirit, he saw defiance waiting to awaken. He saw the possibility of a race not crawling, but standing tall. And he resolved that if the gods would not grant them a future, he would. One storm-cloaked night, Prometheus climbed Olympus in silence. Past golden halls and sleeping gods, he reached the sacred forge of Hephaestus. There burned the eternal flame, the very essence of divine power. Its light was blinding, its heat unbearable, meant only for gods. To touch it was unthinkable. Yet Prometheus reached out. Flames seared his skin, but he held fast. He tore away a fragment of the fire, a piece of eternity, and hid it within a hollow stalk of fennel. Small enough to conceal, strong enough to endure the journey. With the fire clutched to his chest, he descended from Olympus. Through mountain storms he carried it, across cliffs, through shadows of beasts, never letting the ember die. And at last, he reached mankind. With trembling hands, he set the fire upon the earth. At first, humans recoiled in fear, but then warmth, light, power. They reached for it, their faces glowing with awe, as night itself seemed to retreat. The first sparks became flames, and flames became torches. For the first time in history, humanity had fire, and in that single stolen ember, the destiny of the world changed forever. When Prometheus placed fire in the trembling hands of mankind, the world changed. At first they feared it. The flames leaped and danced wild and alive, seeming almost divine. But then, as warmth spread into their frozen bones, as darkness retreated from the caves, awe overcame fear. Humanity had discovered its first ally. Soon, the flames grew into hearths. Families gathered around the glowing light, no longer shivering in endless night. With fire, raw meat was transformed into nourishment. Disease was burned away in smoke, and the beasts of the night fled from its power. What once ruled them now feared them. But fire was more than survival, it was imagination. In the flicker of flames on cave walls, shadows became stories. They painted with ash-carved symbols, sang songs to the crackling rhythm of fire. Prometheus had given them more than heat, he had given them a future. From the first torches carried into the dark forests to the first sparks striking stone against stone, humanity stood taller. The night was no longer endless. The gods might look down in disdain, but in that moment, mankind looked upward for the first time, not with fear, but with possibility. But the fire could not remain hidden. From Olympus, Zeus gazed down and saw the earth glowing with light, where once there had been only darkness. Flames burned in every village, smoke curled into the skies, and mankind stood taller than he had ever allowed. Fury shook the heavens. Thunder rolled. The king of the gods had been defied not by an equal, but by one of his own allies. Zeus's anger was merciless. First, he struck at mankind, to punish them for daring to wield fire. He created Pandora, the first woman crafted with flawless beauty, adorned with gifts from every god. Yet within her hands was placed a jar, and inside it, Zeus concealed every sorrow, sickness, famine, despair, war, and death. When Pandora opened the jar, these evils spilled into the world, staining humanity's future forever. Only one thing remained inside: hope. But Zeus was not finished. His rage turned to Prometheus, the traitor who had humiliated him before gods and mortals alike. This was no mere offense. This was rebellion. And Zeus vowed to make of Prometheus not just an example, but a living monument to the price of defiance. For the fire stolen was eternal, and so too would be the punishment. Prometheus was seized by the will of Zeus and dragged to the edge of the world, to the jagged peaks of the Caucasus. There, the gods bound him with unbreakable chains of adamantine, forged by Hephaestus himself. Against those bonds, Even the strongest titan could not struggle free. He was nailed to a cliffside, high above the crashing seas, the storm forever raging around him. But it was not the chains alone that were his torment. Each dawn, as the first light broke the horizon, the sky darkened with wings. From the heights descended a monstrous eagle, vast and merciless, a creature born of Zeus's wrath. With talons sharper than iron, it tore into Prometheus's chest, ripping out his liver while he screamed against the storm. And when night fell, his divine body healed, regenerating the wound only for the agony to begin anew at sunrise. This was no sentence of years, no exile of centuries. It was eternal. An endless cycle of suffering, repeated day after day, echoing into eternity. Mortals would live and die, civilizations would rise and fall, yet Prometheus would remain chained to that rock, his torment unending. His screams carried across the winds, not only as punishment but as warning. Let none defy Zeus, let none steal from Olympus. And yet, within those cries of pain, there was also defiance. For though his body was broken, Prometheus never begged, never surrendered, never regretted. In his agony, he still clung to one truth. Mankind now had fire, and no power, not even Zeus himself, could take it back. For ages, Prometheus endured. Empires rose and fell, generations of mortals lived and died. Yet the Titan remained on his cliff, suffering anew each day. And yet, his torment was not in vain, for with the fire he had given, humanity advanced. What began as warmth grew into mastery. Torches lit great halls, forges built weapons, ships crossed seas, cities rose from the earth. Fire became knowledge, invention, art, and power. Every spark of progress was a reflection of his gift. When men challenged kings, when thinkers challenged dogma, when rebels defied tyrants, the spirit of Prometheus burned within them. His chains were meant to silence rebellion, but instead he became its symbol. Though Zeus could break his body, he could not break the idea Prometheus had set aflame. For every act of courage, every leap into the unknown, every discovery that pushed mankind forward all carried his defiance. The Titan's fire was eternal, not only in flame, but in the hearts of those who dared to dream. They say the gods are eternal, but perhaps true immortality belongs not to Zeus, nor to Olympus, but to Prometheus. For every time mankind defies the impossible, for every moment we reach beyond what we are told is forbidden, his spirit lives again. The fire he stole still burns in every invention, in every act of rebellion, in every spark of genius. From the first torch to the brightest city, from the forges of blacksmiths to the launch of rockets that pierce the heavens, all are echoes of that stolen ember. Prometheus was chained to a rock, yes. His body was torn apart each day, but his fire broke free, spread across time, carried by the very mortals he pitied. The gods sought to make him a warning, but instead, he became an inspiration. Perhaps, in the end, Zeus was wrong. Perhaps divinity is not found in thrones or thunder, but in the courage to defy, to create, to endure. If so, then Prometheus is not just a titan, he is eternal. For the flame he gave us still burns, not only in fire, but in us. Perhaps it is not the gods who are immortal, but human courage itself. Who was right, Zeus or Prometheus? Join the debate in the comments and make sure to like and subscribe for more myths.